Hey. Here we are.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, I thought we'd just get together and chat a little bit.
So whatever happened to our little doodly doo after the main
Oh, with the
intro?
world and all that stuff?
Yeah.
I found that and I got to patch it together, and that means I got to start up iMovie and I got to,
Hmm.
Dave,
Hmm.
I need you.
So
I
you just don't feel like it
no, Dave, I need to create some like interesting pictures.
from
And
doodly doos. Yeah.
what the hell was the one yesterday? I thought of one yesterday I needed, and I thought Dave would know how to do this. You got to hook me up with this AI thing so I can create some interesting pictures for thumbnails. And I
I'm
forget what
using
it was.
I'm using Night Cafe. It's like
Night Cafe. And
it's
do you
like
pay for
four.
it?
It's like yeah, it's like $4 a month or something like that. It's
No shit.
I figured for it's like four bucks per hundred basically. So
Okay.
every hundred you make will cost you about $4. So
Right.
I figured that's reasonable. So
I
yeah, you
can.
just go to Night Cafe and they'll let you try it out. I think a couple pictures for free or something, and then you gotta fork out the $14.
Yeah. I'm about 20, 24 subscribers away. 23 subscribers away from my 666.
Cool.
I got a chance of getting there. If we get off our asses and stream a little more, we'd be okay.
Yeah, you've got lots of AIs, and most of them are all the same. They'll let you play around with the little freebies, limited use, maybe make 5 pictures, and then they're gonna hit you up for a charge. So
Well, I had a couple of them, and I just didn't like the pictures that they. I mean, the pictures were beautiful, but they weren't giving me what I wanted.
I had to do like 100 tries to get what I wanted.
Really?
You got to learn to talk to it. And
Okay.
now with my new one here, as you can see, Bigfoot at the captive desk with orange walls, it's pretty darn close to sitting right here where I'm at. So
Okay. Let's see
the,
here.
the desk isn't perfect, but I've got orange walls, which I've got orange walls. I've got dual monitors. I got my dual monitors. It looks like an interview. I've got my microphone and everything. So it took a lot of tries to get it to understand you, and using what words that it understands too, because it doesn't always understand you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because it makes sense to you doesn't mean it makes sense to AI. So sometimes you'll get something totally off the wall because it didn't understand you. And then you go, okay. And you try different words, and then you're like, aha. And then you feed it back into itself, and then you add words. So if you're almost close, you
Right.
feed the picture back in, and then you add words. Don't take away your words. Add words to, I almost had it, and then I said, I just need orange walls. So I
Oh, so
added orange walls.
they don't keep track of the session? Like ChatGPT, if you talk to it in one window, it keeps feeding itself back. It feeds all its output back in every time you ask a new
It's
question.
Well, it's two settings. You're either going to start from scratch,
Okay.
or you're going to what they call evolve, which is
Okay.
feeding back in the picture, and then it starts with that picture and then evolves from that.
Okay. Good. Okay, we got Maynard Saves, we got Logan Fisher, we got Or Willie, and we have Orge 343, and we have Icarus. Icarus is always first. God, we should pay Icarus. We cut him a check, Scott.
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
About twice what I make.
Yeah. Yeah. Triple what you make.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. He's a valuable guest.
Yep. Okay. Yep. Triple my salary too. So anyway, we'll give him triple mine plus triple yours, and that'll be it. Okay. Ember came out with he was on midnight ranting on Amy's channel with Sunflower, and Ember clipped it and put it out on his channel a couple days ago, 2 days ago, and I mean, I was punching myself in the face, trying to knock myself out. I was like, please, I need to be unconscious right now. If I listen to another fucking piece of this, and I was kind of amazed that they didn't call him on a few things that he did. But Sunflower claims to have a degree in biochemistry. I was like, oh, come on, you got to be kidding me. They could not have possibly given you a degree without you figuring out a few of the errors that you made on this stream. And like, okay, it started out with talking about evolution as usual, and then he says, you got to tell me how corn evolved into cows. It's like, wait, that didn't happen. It's like somebody should have stopped him right there and said, no, corn is not a common ancestor of, cows. Corn and cows may have a common ancestor population back there, but by the time you get over to plants and fungi and stuff like that, talking about common ancestors and being related is kind of fucking stupid anyway, if you know the first thing about evolution. But yeah, corn and cows may have a common ancestor, but corn did not turn into cows. You dumb motherfucker. I mean, okay, I want to make a point about somebody being stupid. Sunflower is ignorant, but he is willfully ignorant, and that makes him stupid. And he won't be corrected, and he's arrogant, and he sounds like, I mean, he was going on like he knew more than anybody else on the panel about evolution, and he come up with the lamest shit. So then, purple rhymes with orange tried to divert him and get him talking about vertebrates, right? If you want to talk about evolution, you got to pick a battle, right? And that's the problem with these fucking Christians. They say, oh, you can't explain how vertebrates developed, and then you say, okay, let's talk about that, and they say, oh, abiogenesis, how did that work? And it's like, wait a minute, that has nothing to do with fucking vertebrates, you asshole. It's like, pick something. So as soon as they went to vertebrates, Sunflower goes to eukaryotes, right? So he backs up, and a couple of times he backed all the way up to abiogenesis. Now, eukaryotes and abiogenesis are as far as part as us and the second or third nearest galaxy to us, right? Way far apart. And vertebrates are even further apart than that. So, like, you know what I mean? They fucking, they ask these questions and they pretend we can't answer them. And then if you start answering them, Sunflower overtalked during this entire thing. He wouldn't listen to a fucking thing. It was just, and I just got really upset. Well, I got motivated. Let's put it that way. I got motivated. Let's see here. Let's play the first part here. So Sunflower has a degree in biochemistry, right? And he knows all about evolution, enough to tell you that it's impossible. There's no way it could have happened. And then he says this.
Transition from prokaryotes to eukaryotes is not equivalent to like any other evolutionary trait. This is a categorically different kind of event in the timeline of life. Are you aware?
First of all, no event is like any other event. I don't know what he's talking about there. But listen to this.
Hear that or no?
Why is it categorically different?
Because before this happened, cells existed as individual isolated cells. Like, as in, like, each organism was a cell. That's what prokaryote means.
Okay.
And then they all started to work together. Are you not familiar with this, like, at all, or?
Okay. Apparently, he's not familiar with this because prokaryotes are cells without nuclei, and eukaryotes are cells that have a true nucleus. They are not multicellular animals like Bonehead here thinks. He thinks that eukaryote means multicellular.
Yeah, and all that verbiage that he was using, he could have just used the word single-celled organism or something.
Yeah, not
it's-
prokaryote, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he could have said single cell to multi-celled if that's what he was talking about.
Yeah, if.
So he didn't even know what the fuck he was talking about. He is that goddamn ignorant, and he's on here tooting his fucking horn like he knows what he's talking about, and it's just like, no, you don't. You don't. And then the next little piece he came up with is epigenetics, and it just, I'm not sure if I caught the right part here, but we'll see.
Maybe he meant, I have a bachelor's degree, and they made me take biology,
Yeah.
and they made me take chemistry, so I must have a
Be
degree
a
in
biochemist.
biochemistry.
Right.
Yeah.
Biochemistry, yeah. You know, and then I was listening to Fuzzrana, and biochemists, for some reason, well, we'll get into that. Biochemists are more likely to be creationists or anti-evolution than molecular biologists. And it's because of the way they're taught, I think. And of course, Fuzzrana was a Christian before, even though he claims to be an agnostic. All these guys were, they were brought up Christian. They had a crisis of faith when they were teenagers for about 25 minutes. and then they went to college and argued with the professor about evolution. It's just like, it just drives me crazy. Anyway, listen to this part.
That's definitely true.
Whoa, what is happening here? What the hell? There we go. Okay.
True. I don't know if that's all it is, but that is definitely at least one thing that it is. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, well, what in addition to that what in addition to that is...
Well, we don't entirely know. Have you
Is
ever heard of
DNA
epigenetics? Have you ever heard of epigenetics?
Yeah, I've heard of epigenetics, and
Right,
I
and
think
things like methylation, right? So we're actually not entirely sure of. There at least does seem to be like there could be mechanisms outside of the purely, instructive nature of DNA in terms of making proteins. There might be sort of things that are like in an epigenetic sense, or maybe methylation that can actually have a functionality of DNA that isn't purely in a sort of blueprint sense. And this is
okay.
very much like this stuff is very much being researched and verified.
Sure.
So it's not purely a blueprint or at least we're not sure if that's all it is.
Sure, but even with epigenetics, we're talking about perhaps a change in the set of instructions.
Okay, so, oh my God, he asks her, have you heard of epigenetics? And then he goes on to show that he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about at all. He says, we know nothing about epigenetics, okay? And I pointed out in the comments that I have 6-inch, if you stack both my textbooks together, I have 6 inches of college textbooks on epigenetics. And if you took all the papers that I've downloaded on epigenetics, it would probably be about 10 or 20 feet tall if you printed them out. And he claims methylation? It's like methylation? No, that's one of about 7 well-known methods for epigenetics. And then he says, well, it looks like the DNA is just not a blueprint, like something else happens. Yeah, you fucking dildo. It's called regulation. It's like histone modification and regulation, and we've known about this shit for 40 years, and we know a ton about it in the last 20 years, 23 years. What the fuck is he saying? What is he trying to prove here? And I think he was trying to point to some witchy thing, and then Stephanie caught him. I mean, he's making Stephanie look like she doesn't know what she's talking about. She says, do you believe in Lamarckian evolution? Because Lamarckian, if something happens to the organism, it's passed on to the next generation, right? Which was really hated for a long time. And then we found out that there are some epigenetic effects. Some small part of epigenetics will transfer from one generation to another, and they found that famously out, I think, in where was it, Switzerland or something, where starving women had children that ended up with a modification in their DNA that actually made it into the next generation. And I think it made it about 2 generations. And then we found fungi that fungi. I think I'll call them fungi. We found fungi that actually passed on an epigenetic change for like 100 generations. But it's most of the time the epigenetic markers are reset in the zygote, and so that isn't. It can have an effect on evolution, and they've got some models where they show how it does, but it's not something that, we just discovered that Lamarckian evolution is, truth. But anyway, Stephanie called them on it, and let's see what happens here. Are you
No,
guys?
we don't really understand because there are aspects to epigenetics where it like especially if you look into methylation, it's not even merely just a change of the instructions. It's almost like there's a built-in way to turn things on and off.
It's called fucking regulation, you idiot. It's just like, oh. You guys following me here? You understand my pain?
I
Every-
feel your pain.
Every time I hear epigenetics, it's used wrong. So
yeah.
and it's being used wrong here again. Well, epigenetics disproves evolution. It's like epigenetics is like part of genetics. It's
It's like
it's not separate.
integral part of genetics.
Yeah.
But then okay, the Lamarckian. Let's see, where's the Lamarckian thing? I'm at 4216. I just happen to have a transcript of this. When I pull a transcript, I'm pissed.
I've done that a few times myself.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, did I get that right to pull that transcript up?
Let's see, where's the Lamarck stuff? They go on for a while, and then he rage quits because somebody actually, because Purple Rhymes with Orange, I think, gives him, or else Beamsy gave him a 1-page printout telling you what epigenetics is, so he could fucking figure it out. Let's see here. We're trying to. Okay.
Which I would consider a very thoughtful thing.
Yeah, here it is. So it's at 45:20. We'd have to listen a little while. Let's jockey ahead. You want to listen to him be done?
Sure.
Yeah, let's listen to it. We'll
In
go ahead.
a distinct pattern. So the instructions themselves actually aren't even being changed, but they're being like sort of weirdly modified in patterns that are almost imprinted. It's very, we don't really know. There's a lot of
Okay.
We are still
Wait,
learning about
okay.
epigenetics.
All right.
but
So
basically, yeah, it's an on-off switch for gene expression.
well, no, there's not. You can't just basically. We don't even understand it yet.
I'm
We're-
summarizing.
well,
No,
I have a more
theorized.
fundamental
He doesn't understand it.
question to ask here. If we don't understand it, what do you think is the proper method for achieving a sort of understanding of it?
I have no idea. We're doing the best we can. I don't know what the proper method is.
Well, how do you? Okay, so, oh geez, my
He's got a degree in biochemistry, and he can't even answer Stephanie's question.
my earbuds just died.
Yeah, no worries.
But
But I-
done, and then Midnight Spark.
What I'm saying is that there are things not only that we don't understand, but that we have not even sort of like really cracked into in a meaningful way. And does that mean that, oh, there you go, you guys have to believe in God now? Of course not. No, like that is not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that the things we're unsure of, especially as you go farther back in time, the level of confidence we have becomes increasingly low in the sense of orders of magnitude, and you can't just say because we witness certain sort of evolutionary things in the lab every day that we can then have a confident theory on what happened billions of years ago.
Okay, we got to put a bookmark there. This thing about historical versus observational science.
And epigenetics is a perfect case to further illustrate this, because we don't understand really any of it, and we're trying.
Oh my God, he said it again. He keeps saying it. It's just, what am I gonna do?
Mike, Titan was asking, didn't you say that Ember hosted this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it was on Amy Newman's channel, and Ember did a premiere, and he has a little thing at the
Okay.
beginning. Yeah.
So Amy did it originally.
Yeah, and it started out with Ember talking to Sunflower, and it was.
Yep. Titan's right. That's the only one that'll have Sunflower on is Amy Newman. So
Oh, really? Yeah, I'll have him on. I'd like to talk to the son of a bitch.
Trying to.
I want to talk to him about epigenetics.
We're sort of scratching the surface, but we don't have a comprehensive understanding of it at all. And Purple Run, it wasn't even a top.
What's that, Scott? Did you say something, Scott? No.
No.
Oh, okay. I heard somebody who sounded like you on Amy's channel.
That you discussed. Are you sure you're not hearing this for the first time? With all due respect,
Sunflower.
Okay, what did he say here?
We're sort of scratching the surface, but we don't have a comprehensive understanding of it at all. And Purple Run, it wasn't even a topic that you discussed. Are you sure you're not hearing this for the first time? With all due respect,
Sunflower.
You were bringing up in your original when you said we have gaps. You weren't talking about epigenetics. Do you know what they are, Purple Run? Can you respond to that?
Go ahead, Purple. But that seemed a little.
No,
over
I
the top
know
to me.
the epigenetics is not what I was talking about before, but it's still
Okay. Thank you for admitting that. I appreciate. I do appreciate that.
Purple tried to get him to talk about vertebrate evolution, but no, he went back to eukaryotes. So
still the same thing, though, that, with the epigenetics, there are gaps we don't fully understand how all of the individual cells form. And, with the evolution, there are gaps that we don't have a complete record of how everything came in.
I wouldn't call what we have in epigenetics today gaps. There's a individual molecules, and we don't know everything that they do, and individual modifications, and we don't know everything that they do. And we don't have all the descriptions, but as far as theory goes, there ain't no fucking gaps. So
into the next species.
I mean, that's
Sunflower. You're not a Lamarckian, are you?
a Lamarck.
now that was a good one, Stephanie.
Ian, I don't even know what that means in this context.
You don't know what Lamarckian.
In this context, no.
Do you know what Lamarckianism is?
Sounds vaguely familiar from my.
Yeah, it's basically the theory that well, to totally simplify.
So Stephanie shows right here that she knows a fuck ton more than he does, and he and it doesn't even faze him. And the whole time he's here saying epigenetics like he pulled a big rabbit out of the hat that nobody else is going to understand, and then he doesn't even understand it well enough to know how much we actually know about epigenetics.
Stephanie's well read. She's pretty good in discussions on at least knowing a clue about things. So
and later on he rage quits here, I think.
Title rather than the
without
content.
changing the DNA sequence.
Yeah, probably have to read
That's
it.
what you posted, dude. This is too much, man. Like I can't.
Okay,
how
well you can leave.
post that? Like,
Go
what
to
are you
show
doing?
quiet.
I know. I've been triggered. I've been triggered. I'm sorry. I gotta leave now. The fact that he posted the Medline plus.
I'm really sorry you are, because I'd like to
I'm
follow.
out of here.
I'd love to.
Anyway, that was it. So then he leaves. He's triggered now. He left. It's just like, oh my goodness, what the fuck? What the fuck? Okay, so Ember pointed out at the beginning of this video that overall, what Sunshine was let's see, what was he trying to say? I'm trying to. Oh God, I'm gonna run a little bit of a gap on. I got to think about this for a minute. Let's listen to what Ember says in the beginning.
Just don't try to put a God in that gaps.
Yeah.
Howdy, folks. Today I've got something a little bit different for you. In the spirit of my good friend Mark Reed, I've got a room rumble. On August 10th, our friends Amy Newman and James W. had a debate with Kent Hovind on Standing for Truth's channel. After that, they went to an after show on Atheist Junior's channel, and once that was wrapped up, went back to Amy's channel for a midnight ranting about whether evolution is true. This video is an excerpt from that open mic. If you want to see the whole thing, and you should, a link to Amy's stream is in the description. Now, the reason I'm focusing on this part is because you'll notice that I behave a little bit strangely in this stream. Part of it is because of the late hour and the fact that I'd been working all day. But part of it is because I'm a little less assertive than normal. There's a bit of a delay in my responses. And there are a few reasons for this. First, because the last time I spoke with Sunflower, we were able to reach an amicable consensus. And the fact he was being so confrontational was throwing me off a bit. The second factor is that because of my frustration, I had to reject my first several instinctive responses because they would not be productive. So I had to go a ways down the list to find something to say that would move the conversation forward rather than just react to what Sunflower was saying. So in addition to rejecting my initial responses, I was also evaluating what he said, what he meant, where he was going with that, and what motive was underneath all of it. Although Sunflower eventually retreats when he's positively overwhelmed by the sheer amount of information being presented, I suppose, we do make some significant progress on figuring out what exactly is going on. It may not be evident in the stream, so I will lay it out here. Throughout the course of the conversation, Sunflower frequently refers back to, it's okay if you don't have an answer. I'm not saying you have to believe in God. And that seemed weird to me, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it at the time. But in retrospect, it looks like what might have been going on is that Sunflower was attempting to drag science down to the level of uncertainty that religion occupies in order to make the case that they're both equally implausible, so why not consider religion acceptable? It is telling when we get to the point right before Sunflower blows up and leaves, where he flat out starts shouting, "I'm right and you're wrong." So leave me your thoughts in the comments below.
Anyway, okay. So that was his overall point is to try to say, oh, we have these gaps, and it's the same for religion, so you could just flip a coin. Evolution or creationism, one or the other, so you may as well just flip a coin. So, and
From which one of those gaps does God emerge?
yeah,
Well, there was a shift. They shifted from being anti-science to saying, no, we're not anti-science. That their science is just wrong. That's a shift that the creationists made over the recent years. So
yeah,
you notice more and more that, oh no, we don't deny science. They just are all wrong, and Nathaniel Jeanson here has it all figured out.
yeah. The other one is that science proves God. Basically, just look at the trees. That sort of bullshit, right? Look at the trees.
Love to look at the trees.
Yeah, and over the last over the last fucking 5,000 years, we have found more and more complexity in life. And more complexity. And now in the last 20 years, the creationists have this narrative that all that complexity must mean it's intelligently designed. But now evolutionary biologists are looking at that complexity, and they're coming up with the very opposite conclusion, that life is not like a machine at all. It's not like those little biochemical pathways. And that's why biochemists are more likely to believe in or to not believe in evolution, because they see everything operating like a clockwork machine, like Paley's watch. And what it's turning out to be is a very stochastic, vibrant thermodynamic world, and it looks more like a puddle of extremely complicated mud than it looks like a designed machine. There's, you've got like a puddle of mud, and there's all of these, tens of thousands of different molecules in that mud, and they're all kind of hitting each other and behaving in certain ways and gathering together in little mud clumps. which we call biological condensates, and organelles and things like that, and that's the way it's looking. So now we're modifying the whole evolutionary story to run more along the lines of chaos theory, and that is not design. That is anything but design, not a machine, not design. It's like,
I dismantled Look at the Trees in a video about Look at the Trees with Look at the Trees, and Trees spends a lot of time outside looking at the trees, and we dismantled Looking at the Trees, and I defy anybody else to have a video talking about Look at the Trees with Look at the Trees.
Look at the trees. Oh, you should
Well, look at the trees. Looks at the trees. Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Oh God, that's so meta. Watching Look at the Trees, Look at the Trees.
Yes.
How deep could you go? Yeah. Anyway, that's pretty cool. So, yeah, the other thing that Sunflower was bringing up is, we have that the impossibility of knowing exactly how life evolved. We never thought we were going to figure that out, and we don't need to. And what we do is what we need to come up with is just plausible pathways through all the different multiple pathways. And if we find a pathway that's impossible, then the creationists win. But they never go out and look for that. Intelligent designers, creationists, they don't do any of the fucking work to show us why something is impossible. They always try to come up with this back of the envelope probability calculations to show us why it's improbable. They never show why it's impossible, which is what you would have to do in order to prove creationism. You got to show it's fucking impossible. Or you got to show the earth is young, one or the other, like Cordova says. It is just amazing, amazing, amazing. Anyway. Then James irritated me in chat today.
James, what did he do to irritate you?
Well, he said he posted something. What did he post?
You hear this, James Apperson?
Yeah, James Apperson. We're calling you out on this shit, man.
What are you doing? What are you doing perturbing the sound of gravity?
James Apperson says, true science begins when a toddler repeats putting something in their mouth. They learn about their world this way. But at that level, it's pretty much philosophy-free enterprise. I have been screaming this from the rooftops for 10 years, boys and girls. God damn it, James. Have you not been listening to me? Like, epistemology. Okay. So, do you remember when I got into trouble when I said that I prescribed to scientism?
I remember that, yes.
Yeah. Subscribe? Do I subscribe or I subscribe?
You've gotten in trouble for a couple of things you've said.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, I'm a scientismist. Scientismist? I don't know, whatever the hell they want to call me. I believe that everything that we can shed light on everything about human beings, about art, about love, about every fucking thing with science. We can even figure out why pop records, top 40 records become number one. We could figure that out with science, with combination of neuroscience and music, and we could figure it out. And so anyway, with epistemology, there are a couple approaches that you can take. And what epistemologists take, the approach they take, is they get together and they start pontificating, the philosophers, right? They start pontificating about fucking justified true belief and all this bullshit. And they go back and forth for hundreds, thousands of years, and they never make any progress. All they do is argue with each other, basically. And like this book by Jennifer Nagel. I wonder if Jennifer is Tom Nagel's daughter. Anyway, I'd like to know that. So they get into justified true belief. And anyway, with my scientific approach, I would go back to, okay, right now, I'm 72 years old and I know a lot of stuff. Like I know how to get up out of this chair, walk in the other room, and get a drink of water. Okay, that's knowledge. That is definitely knowledge. But they want to talk about things like justified true belief. You know, how do you justify that? How do you know there is a chair? You know, it's like, how do I know there is water in there? It's like, anyway, what I like to do is take the naturalistic approach and go back all the way to when you were a zygote. And you started splitting, the cells started splitting. And when a cell found itself in one area, basically it was in a particular context and it had other cells around it sending molecular signals and pressing on it physically. So there's physics involved. And that was a form of very, very early learning. And then, of course, it develops into this full blown human being, which gets born about 9 months later. And then, baby, my first science experiment was when I poked myself in the eye with my fingers. And I probably did that about 10 times, you know, because repeatability is important in science. And then I said, fuck that, I ain't going to do that anymore. It hurts. It's like, but I mean, your knowledge builds up in these little tiny atoms of moving our limbs in the world, looking at things, moving our head a little bit or our eyes a little bit, and looking at them again. They look a little bit different. Walking around something, realizing that you can hide one thing behind another. That happens somewhere around 3 months to a year, I think. And then eventually we end up with all these concepts. And then when we get all these concepts and language, we become philosophies. And we sit around and pontificate about what we know today and try to fucking analyze what is knowledge without ever going back and looking, hey, you're a fucking biological organism. Let's look at how you learned how to ride a bike. Let's look at how you learned how to talk and learned what metal was and how to electrocute yourself in a light socket, you know, shit like that. I mean, this is where epistemology must be brought to in order to figure out what it is. And I lose patience with pontificating philosophers arguing about foundationalism and fucking just
It's
everything.
the how. It's the how versus why.
Right.
Theists want why. Philosophers, some, I don't want to say all, but some will argue too with why.
Yeah.
Science wants to deal with how.
And what does why imply? Why is about causality, right? But why, more importantly, the why that they're getting to is not about causality so much as it's about intention. Like somebody intended something to happen. Hell, hang on a second. I'm trying to plug my fucking Apple Pencil. Somebody intended to do something, right? Somebody intended to pave the road. That's why it got paved. So I mean, they're still, they're immediately talking about subjective experience and mental phenomena and all this bullshit. When they ask why questions, why is there a universe at all? Well, it's fucking here. Okay, I don't.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's what I throw back at the theists. It's like, okay, well, God made it. It doesn't matter because, as far as we know, everything has to follow the natural laws, and they'll even argue that God follows the natural laws. But sometimes there's miracles, and it's like, well, you can't have it both ways.
Yeah, we can all agree that something happened that makes us here right now, right? Something happened that gave us this. Okay, and here we are looking out on the vast universe, eyes of wonder, and now we can figure out as much as we can about it, but we're not going to get back to the big why question, like why is there something rather than nothing? Like what the fuck kind of question? I mean, it's like, I don't know. Do you know?
Yeah, I just grant it. It's like, well, either way, God or no God, doesn't matter. Here's reality. If we're a brain in a vat or not, it doesn't matter. This is what we have to deal with in this reality.
Yeah.
And there seems to be rules that govern whatever the reality is or the worldview you want to have or anything you want to call it. It doesn't matter if you believe or not. It's still a matter of the rules still follow. You know, if you fall off a tall building, it's bad no matter who you are.
Midnight can't join. Okay, what's happening out in chat? Oh, Leo's, giving me his opinion about scientism. Him and Immutable Destiny. I just quit wanting to talk to him about it. You can explain logic and mathematics with science. And I can explain ethics with science. I'm sorry. I can explain oughts with science. I don't know. I can explain everything with science. You just got to look at it right. First of all, you got to figure out that you're a fucking organism. I wish my Apple Pencil was charged. Oh my goodness. What kind of drawing did I do the last time I was here? Anyway, guys, what do you think about epistemology? I mean, doesn't it make sense to look at ourselves as biological organisms with brains and take a look at how neural networks might acquire what we call knowledge? Oh no, I triggered Scott.
By the way, did you get that that link to that thing about the brain and DMT that I sent you this morning
I did.
from that Institute of Anatomy and Physiology?
Yeah.
The great
I'm gonna-
channel.
I'm going to take DMT for one reason, and that is to get an opinion about it. But DMT is like a psychedelic I don't think people should take.
That was my 20s.
Yeah, you took DMT?
No, but experimenting.
Yeah, I took
Yeah, let's see.
I took PCP, which is similar. So, but it gets you into a place that LSD and psilocybin does not. It gets you a little further away from a functioning brain at all.
My opinion on any kind of drugs is it's just a different amount of high. That's all it is. So
Yeah.
the more high you want to get and the more, like you said, out of control you want to get, then the higher or the harder the drugs you do.
No, it doesn't work that way. They're all different, Dave. DMT is not like LSD. MDMA or ecstasy that's a bad one because that one has a amphetamine effect, and that one I will never take because I'm an amphetamine addict. And psilocybin and LSD are different than each other, but they're along the same vein. So psilocybin and LSD fall into one category. DMT and PCP fall into another, or ketamine. And MDMA is more of an emotional psychedelic. And all of these things are being used therapeutically, and I approve of their use therapeutically.
We have a request to open up the stream.
Who wants to get in?
Midnight.
Midnight's been
Hold
trying
on.
like heck to get in.
He ain't gonna get in. You know he ain't gonna get in.
We can always try. He'll just answer a phone call and talk for 20 minutes.
Yeah, and the other thing about DMT is like people insist that they can communicate with each other on DMT, and it only lasts, I think, about 15 minutes, so it's a real short thing, and it's just not enough, and I don't approve of it. Certainly don't approve of it for any kind of recreational or personal use where you don't have a trained physician with you. I think it's a really bad fucking idea. Jesus, how did he? Oh, you put the link out. I just put the link out, and Midnight popped in like within a second. I thought, holy fuck.
Yeah, there's no avatar, and he just went away.
Trigger finger, yeah. He ain't gonna get in.
Here we go again. Oh, that's Leo. Oh, we got an avatar.
Leo knows how to use a computer, which is good.
What's up, Leo?
So you getting ready for your big debate next Saturday?
Yeah, I've watched a few videos from Eric. I watched a debate that he had with Ben Watkins because Ben Watkins kind of thinks like I do with some of this stuff. So I was interested how Ben sort of approached the discussion. Then I watched a conversation that he had with Shannon Q just to see how he did in that environment and how he presented his case to her. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun debate. My debate with Eric is actually the one I'm looking forward to the most because I think it's gonna be just the most to have. I mean, I don't have any problems with Eric. I respect him as a guy, so it could be a fun discussion.
Hernandez?
Yeah.
Ooh, why?
Why do I respect him?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't seem disrespectful or like openly and explicitly dishonest.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. He's just.
I mean, I think there may be some things he said that kind of come off a little bit dishonest, but I don't think he was trying to do that intentionally.
Yeah.
I really came in here because I'm curious how you think you've solved the Azot problem. This because you haven't. This would be interesting. You should tell us how you think you did that.
Okay. Let's see if I can tell you how I did that.
He's got to charge up his pen first.
Well, it charges pretty fast. I'm probably at 10%.
Yeah, I can tell you when my pen charges.
I love Mike's artwork. He does great artwork.
Am I?
It looks a lot like mine.
Well, let's see if I got this thing hooked up. I don't know. No, I don't. Come on, dude. What the fucking fuck? Oh, these are.
I'm surprised Midnight didn't come in. I figured he'd be.
He can't.
Oh, why not?
Because he doesn't know how to use a computer. I don't know. He can't.
It always takes him 10 tries.
Well, no, are you saying he can't as in like he actually just doesn't have the literal ability to, or are you saying that as sort of a joke because he hasn't joined yet? So you're
No,
like,
he tried to join twice. He's using Google Chrome, I think, and he still can't get in for some reason. You can't see him and you can't hear him. Oh, wait a minute. Is that because of his disability?
No, it could be. I don't know if he's using a headset or something, but it could be that.
You can't see his icon even. Nothing's there. Oh, Jesus Christ. So how did I solve the Azot problem?
Am I audible?
Mm-hmm.
All
Yeah.
right.
All right.
Well, Dressel, how you doing?
Hey, haven't talked to you.
Did you call
for a
me
while.
Dessel?
Dressel?
Huh?
Dressel?
Yeah.
It's Dessel, right? Isn't it Dessel? No.
I just call him Trace because I don't know. That
Yeah. Oh, I
sounds
like
better.
that.
No, sorry, I just sneezed. So,
Because when I first met him, I knew him as Drace. So.
Okay, Leo. This
Well,
is
that's
you.
what I was looking at. I'm not.
You-
I'm not like red though. I be brown. You got the color wrong. Fucking racist.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you were Native American.
Leo
I do
just
have
got
native
purple.
in me.
He just got purple washed.
That's what happens when you mix the colors.
man,
I
I think the
don't
dog stirred something up. I'm sneezing. Gosh.
started doing that. Okay, so you're an organism, right?
Sure.
Okay, we figured that out. So basically, you start out, from a zygote, right? I was talking about how you learn stuff when you're a zygote. You learn stuff because there's cells around you, that basically impinge on you, and you learn. And eventually, you end up with this, organism. We become a baby, a baby. So when you become a baby, you have, this brain, and then you go out into the world, and then the world starts impinging on you. And this is why I believe in naturalism, right? So the world impinges on you, and you learn all of these things as you come up. And one of the things you learn is that you are an organism. So that's the important part. So now what you do is you come down here at this dude's little footies down here, and you crawl up his footies, and you go all the way up into his brain, and then you start working out where the ought is. Like, I ought to do this, right? When a human being feels that he ought to do something, there are a million experiments that we could do on that ought to figure out exactly why.
What do you mean by that? How do you do an experiment on an ought?
An experiment on an ought? Like if I feel I ought to, what the hell would I ought to want to do? Ought to give money back to somebody. Like I ought to return that guy's wallet, right? Okay. Now that involves a huge set of neurotransmitters and emotions and culture and evolution. That brought me to the point where I might want to return some guy's wallet if I found $1,000 in it, right? And that's how you get from an is to an ought. I don't see why that's so complicated or
That doesn't tell me how you went from an is to an ought. That just tells me like why humans have oughts.
why humans have oughts is how you get from an is to an ought.
I don't.
So
That makes no sense.
So okay, the is part is basically we evolved. Number one, we are organisms. Number two, we're organisms. Number three, we have emotions. Number four, neurotransmitters. Number five, cultural groups.
But none of that tells me why I ought to pay somebody back. Maybe I feel I need the money more and I ought not pay them back in my own mind. So how can you have two completely different ought values given the same ises if the ought comes from the is? The exact same set of ises then should always give the same ought, don't you think? You shouldn't be able to get different oughts from the same set of ises, but it seems that you can do that.
Well, you could easily do that if this turned out to be a sum of particular values, right? 0 and say you were raised by wolves, so you had 0 cultural influence. Say you were hungry, so your emotions kind of went into the negative direction. And we do this as a sum, basically, and we could come up with why you were motivated. We could come up with a complete, now in principle, not in practice, we could come up with a complete physical description of why you would not return the money and I would. Okay? And these are all natural facts. So we could take natural facts, which are all ises, and we could arrive at an ought. I don't understand why.
Well, they might explain why you have certain beliefs or desires, but they're not going to explain anything about those beliefs and desires prescribing certain norms.
Well, I think the one thing that might, from all the ises, explain why we get oughts, why we have oughts, not necessarily that the same set of oughts exists for each individual.
Right, everybody's a
It's
different
the fact that
organism.
we're a social species.
I don't see how that explains why I ought to save a drowning child.
Well, that's a specific ought. First, you have to establish the reason for us having oughts. I think there's a different set of oughts for everybody, but that the tendency is towards a particular set of oughts, but there's enough variance among individual cases to where you can't say that the one set of logical precepts leads you to the same ought for everybody.
Yeah, that's just effectively stating normative anti-realism. I hold the normative anti-realism.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not explaining how oughts you get oughts from ises.
Yeah,
So I don't think you can.
mistake me for necessarily agreeing with Speed. I don't know where I agree with Speed and where I disagree with Speed until we talk about it. And I've never really had a full-length conversation about my moral theory to know where it falls within all the different. But to me, it's almost a.
Well, do you think that there are
stochastic thing.
things called moral truths? Do you think that there are moral truths,
no.
moral statements that
No.
are true? So you don't even think that any moral statement can be true or false?
I don't think I would use true or false for that. But
Yeah, it's hard for me to say that simply because I don't know how I think you have a certain. You're right. You have a certain set of precepts that you can gain from science or whatever, from observation, from even mathematics, even. But no, you can't say because the ought that I come up with will probably be different in 1,000 years.
Well, yeah, but I don't see how that would mean you can't ascribe a truth value or a falsity value, or, the concept of truth to it.
Well, what would that mean exactly? If
Yeah,
like,
I don't know how.
Well,
the
the thing is, it's
Give me a
true.
spec- give me a
It's true
spec-
that vanilla ice cream is my favorite flavor of ice cream, but that's not true objectively, is it? Of course not. There can be truths that are subjective.
No, I
The
think
concept of truth is not necessarily objective or mind independent.
Okay.
your preference for vanilla ice cream is objective.
What?
It's objective. It's an is. It's something
What
that
is?
it's something that we in principle
What
could
is?
put your love of vanilla ice cream over all the other flavors.
I don't think that's independent of mind. That's dependent on my mind.
Well, your mind, yeah, and
And
your
the
mind,
subject is Leo in that case.
and you're an organism.
Sure.
Okay, you're an organism. You have a brain. Your brain is arranged in such a way that you're going to respond to vanilla ice cream more positively.
But I don't think that my preference for vanilla ice cream has anything to do with any structure in my brain. I think it's going to be far more related to culture, environment, things like that, rather than just the mere structure of my brain. I think most things are that way.
Okay,
most things don't really have much to do with the structure of our brain, at least with respect to like who we are as a person and what we like and what we don't like and our beliefs and our aims and our desires. Most of that has to do with culture and environment, not the mere structure of our brain. I don't think the mere structure of our brains really has a lot to do with who we are as people.
Oh my God! No, okay. You've done a little conflation here. Okay, now the structure of your brain. You're talking about, the overall structure of the human brain, right? Okay. Let's see. So it kind of looks like that, right? Like how major highways are wired together in your brain. Okay, that's one kind of structure. But another kind of structure is these little synapses at the end here, basically, that hook up to neurons, and those things are affected by culture. I call that the structure of your brain. I call the weight of each of your synapses individually the structure of your brain. If we're talking about the overall genetically implied structure of your brain, that's a different thing, right? Okay, the weight of your synapses is going to affect your choice in ice cream. It's going to affect your beliefs. You agree with that much, right?
Well, I think it's going to be causally related to them.
Yeah. If you go out and you choose ice cream, something's going to happen more in your brain and between you and that ice cream than anywhere else in the world. It's not going to happen out in culture.
Like when I start eating the vanilla ice cream, my brain will probably begin to release some dopamine or something like that, which is naturally going to affect the brain in ways that cause that person to prefer that whatever it is that they're enjoying because they enjoy it.
Okay, and that would
probably. And I'm not denying any of that. I'm just saying that
that would probably
preferences and things like that, norms that humans have across the board aren't. They don't matter. Like the structure of the brain doesn't matter to them. Culture and environment does. But culture and environment are sort of the things that form the brain into what it is for any individual.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what your brain is today. Your brain today is wired as such that almost every time you run into a choice for ice cream, you're going to like vanilla more. Okay, that's how that's how you are wired up. Now, I don't give a shit how you got there. It could have been culture, environment. It could have actually been a gene, Leo. I mean, there's a possibility that you have
I think there's some possibility, yeah.
Yeah, there's a possibility that you have a mutation that makes vanilla more likely to be liked than chocolate.
Such as with cilantro?
Do you think there's any relation between my favorism for vanilla and my favorism for white women?
I think you're just being racist.
Oh, okay.
No cilantro. Yuck.
Cilantro is fucking delicious.
Well, I don't like
it. It ruins the whole dish. It's
no, it doesn't. Salsa with cilantro in it is, oh my God.
Yeah,
I tell you,
I really do love cilantro.
I like it in salsa.
But the thing is, I would bet cilantro tastes like dish soap today.
It
That's
taints
a little
the
bit.
whole
It's so like Leo, there are like there's like a variant of like I don't remember which specific gene it is, but there's like one variant, and people who have this variant, they experience a soapy taste
with cilantro.
Cilantro.
Cilantro tastes like dish soap to them.
Yeah,
because
yes. But also my point is, but like even those people may learn to like the taste.
Yeah.
Even
I've tried. Yeah. I can't. I use fresh parsley in my salsa instead, and it's
that'll work.
Perfectly delicious. No, yeah, it does. It's awful on my tongue. I'm one of those people. It's awful.
No, we got everybody fighting about ice cream out in the chat. I mean, we went from these high and
Well, I
lofty
wanted-
fucking epistemology down to fucking fighting about ice cream.
I wanted to ask Leo.
The natural
say-
vanilla bean is objectively the best ice cream flavor. Like,
Just-
that's just a fact. That is an is of reality. That vanilla bean ice cream is the best. That just is.
Shouldn't
the
we?
case.
Shouldn't we save the drowning child as an ought because we are a social species and we need each other?
Well, that might be somebody's reason, but I'm a moral in fact, I'm a normative anti-realist. So I'm going to say that if you think you ought to do something, the reasons why you think you ought to do it might be, probably are going to be different from somebody else. Not in every instance, but I think in a lot of instances, maybe even most of them, the reasons why I feel I ought to do X or Y or Z may be different in whatever varying degree than the reasons why you feel you ought to do X or Y or Z.
Yeah, but none of that.
But on the whole, though, a social species has to realize we need each other, even if we don't.
I don't think that that's an average realization of the human. I think that there's sort of like evolutionary and cultural, mainly because it's deeply ingrained in who we are as just organisms in the world. But I think that those are things that the average human doesn't like sit there and think about. Oh, if I don't save this child, the future of humanity is at stake. Like, they're not doing that. It's, oh my God, this child is drowning. That's not good. Let me save them. Like, that's
Right,
kind of.
that's
you
what I was
know,
saying.
It's like an it's almost like an automatic
Is it
response.
automatic,
to a,
right,
but you're not
yeah.
wrong,
Yeah.
Dave. You're not
Yeah.
wrong with what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. Same thing. Is it is an
Leo,
automatic
these are your
because
fucking
it's
beans.
genetic.
Mhm.
I experienced something similar. Like I like to ski sometimes, and I saw somebody fell down, and like you have the safety mechanisms where your skis like fall off your shoes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It prevents your legs from breaking when something happens. But of course, the downside is that your skis can like slide down the mountain without you. And I was like, in a split second, I made the decision to dive down and grab the skis for somebody else. Like they were a complete stranger to me. And after I grabbed the skis and gave them back to them, I was like why did I do that? Like, they were a complete stranger. I never met them before. Like, it was just like an automatic response that I did just to grab them for them.
Ice cream.
Humans are nice.
Yeah.
Hey, look at those delicious fucking vanilla beans. But actual like raw vanilla tastes like complete shit. Don't eat it. That's what I
think
hear.
most people will react to save the child from drowning or from falling down the hill or whatever, simply because the ones that don't are normally probably killed by the fathers of the ones that that fell. In other words, if you don't save other people's kids, one of those parents is gonna kill you.
I don't think that's why most people save the child. I think most people do it just sort of on, at least at some level, an instinctual basis. I think people have reasons for why they act, but when it comes to like in the moment moral actions, like say somebody pulls out a gun in a convenience store and the guy behind him in line just decides to tackle him and take the gun out of his hand. In some instances, people might think about things like that, but I think in a lot of instances, most people aren't really thinking like, let me consider against my norms and my priors alongside the moral system that I prescribe to, how I should behave. Like, people aren't doing that. That's not how the average human acts in the real world. So I think that that's something that even a lot of philosophers can tend to let slip by them when we have these discussions about morality and norms and how people behave and rationality and things like that. I think that a lot of stuff, particularly in the moral field, humans tend to behave quite instinctually. Like, if you saw a child drowning, I think most people would just not hesitate. Most people probably wouldn't even take their phone out of their pocket. They dive in and save the fucking child. So I think that's something that we need to remember, is the average human isn't sitting here pondering this before they do something. Now, we do that in many different situations, but not in those sort of extreme moral situations where, say, a child is drowning.
Yeah, I agree that the stated reasons we do things, even when the reason is I did it instinctually,
Mhm.
aren't the actual reason why things get done like that. There are reasons that you observe on kind of on a meta level that might explain individual
Yeah.
behaviors.
But I also think that reasons can motivate us to act before we've even consciously considered those reasons. I think the brain can do a lot more without us consciously being aware of it than what we're aware of. And I think that plays into it. We've
and I
got reasons for
think
why
a
we would
lot of-
save a drowning child, and those
Yeah.
reasons have motivated us to act to save the child before we've even realized that all that is played out. The brain has already done it.
Yeah, I believe that's why we need education and training for people, simply because we will often do things by instinct, and we rely
Or
on
impulse.
training to get us to do what's actually helpful rather than what we instinctually think is helpful.
Mhm.
So we can even, by our own instinctual sense of right and wrong, we can actually do the wrong thing.
Yep.
I have a question to Leo. Like you said, you were a normative anti-realist. If I got it right. Like, well, we do have norms, but what do you mean when we say it's not?
So
It doesn't exist. Yeah.
the difference, most people understand the difference between objective and subjective to be respectively mind independent and mind dependent. So one could say that we ought to proportion our beliefs to the evidence for any given claim that's made. We should believe the claim with a level of strength that is proportionate to the amount of positive evidence there is for that claim, such that if there really isn't any, then we don't believe it. A lot of people are going to say that's true independent of what you think. I would say, no, the fuck it isn't. There are people who might not think that's true, and there isn't any right or wrong answer there. So I'm an anti-realist about normative truths, about the truths of any norms, including moral norms, epistemic norms, aesthetic norms. There's a variety of different norms out there, but in any of them, it's never the case that any of them is objectively true or false. They're true or false respective usually to other norms, or rather stances, things like beliefs, desires, aims that agents have.
There is nothing from first principles that would lead to or back up any given norm, basically.
I'm sorry, what was that?
There is no first principle that would back up any given norm, basically.
I'm not sure if I would use the phrase first principle, but I mean, I'm not saying that you're inaccurate there. I just don't use that term enough myself to really understand exactly what it means. But the way you worded it may be correct. But I get what you're saying, and yes, I agree with you.
Well, I guess like I maybe like I don't know where I stand on it. Like I've seen something on game theory. Like I think you're familiar with the concept of game theory.
I'm familiar with the concept, but I don't know much about the subject.
Like I think it points out that certain behaviors are like they emerge from social interactions. Depending on the parameters, you can get like selfish or selfless interactors, like even though those things won't be sufficient to say that norms are real, basically. Even then,
yeah, or that the truth of any norm is independent of what any agent thinks. Like an example, I give, I'll lessen how extreme the example that I normally give is, because it deals with grape normally. But so most people would say that, killing people is wrong. So if I told you that a guy walked into a school and just shot somebody and killed him, most people would say, oh no, that's bad, that was wrong, you ought not to have done that. But then if I qualified it with, well, the person he shot had already shot and killed several students and faculty, he was a mass shooter, most people would say, oh, well, then it was It was good. It was a good thing that man went into that school and shot and killed that other man. So like you said, there's certain conditions that surround us that I would argue change the truth value, so to speak, of certain moral statements or even other normative statements, such that trying to prescribe some objective level of truth to them just doesn't seem to work.
Right.
Though I usually use grape because that one's a lot more strong than killing. More people seem to be willing to admit that killing can be okay rather than grape. And so normally I say, hey, what if and I get that it's a very contrived hypothetical, but it still makes the point. Where if I said, hey, well, suppose an extraterrestrial race capable of killing every human at once came to Earth and said, we've selected a random 12-year-old child, and if this child is not graped, we will kill every human on the planet, including the child. I would say it would be a good thing to grape the child in that instance.
Most people would kill all the humans. But I just thought of myself running into confronting a school shooter and humping on his leg. I wonder if that would work. It would probably distract him long enough. Don't you think?
I don't know.
I don't know. You know what I'm saying. I'm saying grape the guy instead of kill him.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. That would be my choice. Like I said, graping the child would be better. Is better than every human, including that child being killed.
I just had to ask something. Is Leo saying the word grape?
Yeah, I'm trying to be soft.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're trying not to get censored YouTube banned.
Somebody mentioned first principle a minute ago, and I just was going to say that I had my first principal in '85.
Yeah.
And she was an elementary school principal.
Ah.
Slam dunk.
Principal.
Oh, and I forgot to say too, I had asked Scott earlier, and it might be too soon for this, but could Matthew Perry be more dead?
Oh.
Did they figure out what happened to him?
Could he be more dead?
Yeah, you got to hit that B. You got to hit the B.
Did they figure out what happened to him?
Apparent
They
drowning,
said it was
right?
just a heart thing, and they said the cops said that no signs of foul play or there was no drugs too. So
Oh,
shit.
good.
he was in a bathtub.
I'm glad.
But he had done a lot of drugs, which weakens your heart. And
Yeah, well, do drugs.
I don't know if cannabis does that.
I know alcohol can fuck your heart up eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know about just your standard.
Cocaine is totally safe for the heart. Will not do anything to it at all. If you snort like pounds of it a day, you should be good, my friend.
I used to, and I was like the only thing is I lost all the feeling on my left side, and I had horrible chest pains all the time. But I don't know.
By the way, don't listen to me, kids. Cocaine is absolutely horrible for your heart. Like literally, like the worst thing you could do to your heart is cocaine.
Yeah, like
all you 9 through 12-year-olds that are watching.
Yeah, and about the dumbest thing I have ever heard is people smoking cocaine or meth.
Oh, fuck.
That hits your heart so fucking hard, and like 1 out of 1,000 maybe, or 1 out of 10,000, the fucker's gonna stop cold, no matter how old you are.
I've never done it and don't plan to. So
quite a few I know that used to do it a lot are gone already.
I never smoked that shit because I was a really good drug addict, and I hated the idea that the smoke was getting away, that I couldn't keep it all in my body.
I've never done it in any way.
I thought that was
Yeah, but
wasteful.
somebody like, dude, how about when you just sprinkle it on top of a marijuana bowl?
The worst I've ever done is I did take a little bit and rub it on my gums, because I was told that unless you like do that with a shit pile of it, it's actually not really going to get you high. And all it did is just make my mouth kind of numb.
No, it'll get you high if you put enough on your gums.
That's what I said. I was told you have it can get you high, but like one little swipe with some that's covered your finger is not going to do it. Like
yeah, it makes a really good. It's really a good anesthetic. In fact, they use it. They did it on my son. They put topical cocaine on his face before they gave him a Novocaine shot, when they had to stitch him up when he got attacked by a dog.
Well, I
Yeah.
don't know if it's really the same thing as cocaine, but I mean it's
No, it was
coming
exactly
from the
the same
same.
compound. Exactly the same compound. They use topical cocaine in clinics. They don't like to advertise it because they'll have idiots trying to break in, and they don't have a lot of it, I don't think. But
Imagine
cocaine and
somebody
Novocaine are very
snorting
similar.
massive sums of topical cocaine.
Wasn't that in one
I'm
of the
so
movies?
glad.
Or
I'm so glad I didn't.
snorting
I'm glad I
Novocaine.
didn't. I'm glad I didn't go down the cocaine path.
Wasn't that in one of the movies where
Oh,
they
the
were
cocaine path.
where they were messing around and cocaine was all over the bed, and then they were just all numb and they couldn't move, and they were just laying there on the bed.
I didn't get into cocaine until I was a rich consultant, and then I got into cocaine. Because cocaine is really fucking. It only lasts for about 20 minutes, the high, and yeah, you
Well, the
spend a
pot
lot of money on that shit.
the pot smokers were always the dirty hippies, and the people that popped pills and did cocaine, they were the better thens.
Yeah, the three-piece suits in the bathroom, snorting cocaine, getting those financial markets.
Well, that's all to maintain
mother's little
class
helper.
interest in class relations as they are. I mean, John Ehrlichman, Nixon's one of his senior policy advisors, or his senior policy advisor, straight up admitted this, that they associated crack cocaine with the blacks in the inner cities, and they associated cannabis with the left-wing hippies, anti-war hippies, so that they could, vilify them on the evening news and make them look dirty and dumb and stupid and everything like that, so that the interests of those groups wasn't taken seriously.
Yeah. There was some shit that went down, like crack cocaine. Basically, they figured out how to market it so they could target poor people. And then the fucking thing that killed me is right around the year 1990. Every news station, like news stations here in Minneapolis, they actually filmed a couple of streets and gave the fucking address, and they called them Crack Street. And the residents that lived there got really pissed off because thousands of people were driving up and down their street after the news advertised. The news media and the government created the fucking crack cocaine problem.
Of course.
And I think the government actually designed it. I think they slipped their asses in there. Cocaine is too expensive for the average person, so we'll mix it with some bicarb, and we'll make it, the most inexpensive high ever. And boom.
I wonder how much. This might sound somewhat conspiratorial, if so be it. But I wonder. I'm not saying this did happen, but I'm wondering now whether or not the government had any play, or any like corporate-backed interests may have had any play in the rise of alcoholism in Native American communities.
I don't know. I once heard that Native Americans are like 5 times more likely to become alcoholics.
I think a lot of that has to do with environment. I mean, look at where they live. They effectively live in enclaves. Like,
I think it's genetics.
Alcohol is still a poor man's drug. It's one of the cheapest.
Of course, it's always been.
And it's like the most devastating, harmful fucking drug out there. And we talk about it like it's,
it's making me want to go get a beer.
Yeah.
Well, that's like every time they want to drug test people that are getting benefits and stuff. It's like, how much extra money do you think these people have?
The funny thing is that that's been done. That's been done in a couple of states, and they found and I think, God, what state was it? It was one out west, like Utah, or I think maybe Idaho. It was something like that, and I think it was only around 1% of people were caught using drugs. Like, these people are on food stamps. What the fuck do you think? They got money for drugs, but not for food. And then you get the dumbass conservatives that actually think that these people are willing to spend money on drugs over food. Like, I've never understood that, and I don't think that's true about drug addicts. That if I had $20, I'd rather go get me some crack than a meal. Bullshit. I'm sorry, I doubt that. I'm sure I'm not saying it never happens ever at all, ever, not once, ever. What I'm saying is it's not a trend.
So the real problem is that the drugs, okay, because they're illegal, like methamphetamine costs a lot, like 100, 100, $200 a gram. And because of that, people that are poor will not be able to use as much of it as they would if they could. And that keeps them addicted because they have a week to recover before the paycheck comes in and they can buy more. So if they made it, if it was and readily available, I think about 70% of the meth addicts would sober up within 3 months. And of course, 5% of them would kill themselves if they made it, available. I had 2 times in my life when I had unlimited methamphetamine in front of me or cocaine. And both times I ended up wrecking my body to the point where I had to fucking sober up. I could not go on because I had no limits. Like I had a fucking 30-gram pile of meth sitting on the table in front of me. And I went to treatment that day.
So people are too poor to even reach rock bottom.
Too poor to reach rock bottom.
That's
And I think that's the problem.
That's quite a paradox.
And I mean, it would be a bold experiment to make that shit not only legal, but cheap and easily available at a pharmacy. And
I mean, there's countries that have done that drugs. I mean, there's models for that out there.
I think they've had some good luck.
They have. Sure. Portugal had massive success with the program, and then the conservatives in Portugal started defunding the program, and then the success of the program started to drop off naturally.
Now, did you watch that documentary about what the fuck is it? The opiate.
The opiate epidemic.
What do they call it? The big one that everybody's doing. Oxy.
Oh.
Okay, the pharmaceutical company. The thing about the oxy that they gave them, the amount that they gave them, and the way that it metered itself out, it was fine-tuned to create an addictive reaction, because you were always in a state of withdrawal, and when you're in a state of withdrawal, that's where your brain rewires to make you an addict. That bites, that pounds in the addiction. And the pharmaceutical companies almost designed it to be the perfect tool to get people.
You mean the pharmaceutical company, Purdue Pharma, I believe it was, owned by the Sackler family?
Yep. Yeah, there's a documentary about that, and they were talking about that effect, that, they had a time-released, it was a time-released opioid. And it would always leave you, the way they prescribed it, it would leave you in withdrawal for a good part of the day. And that is like something that can get you addicted within weeks. I mean, you'll end up with a lifelong addiction to that because your brain will change. And that is what's happening with poor people and meth and cocaine and drugs like that. They can't afford it. They can't afford enough of it for it to run its course. So they're always in that withdrawal state. And that withdrawal state increases the addiction. So
I've done Oxy one time, and whoo boy, I tell you what.
You ever heard of Quaaludes?
Yes, I have. I've never done. Probably
I called them 30-30s because I'd go on a meth run when I was like 20, and I'd be like up for 4 days and all strung out, and I couldn't go to sleep. So somebody gave me a Quaalude, and I just fucking I fell down this flight of stairs. And I enjoyed it. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I was like rolling head over head,
Do you have any lewds?
I was all bloody, and it's like, oh man, that was fun. And
when
then
you were,
passed out.
When it happened, Mike, and you were going down the steps, did you go, all this rolling makes me realize I have Rolos?
Yeah.
Speaking of rolls, I want to know about the banana rolls.
Banana rolls.
Yeah, you sent this link, didn't you? With the banana rolls?
Yeah, what was that?
I did?
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Did you click on it?
No, I didn't get a chance to click on it.
Oh, yeah.
I was making my chili, and then I had to get I had to hop on.
Scott said something that irritated me, and I said I'll send you a link to the stream.
Well,
and I sent him banana rolls.
Yeah, Scott wanted to talk about phrenology and daffodils.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I sent him a link.
Phrenology and
I haven't heard about-
daffodils?
I haven't heard phrenology, daffodils, or banana rolls.
Are you saying daffodil as in the flower?
Yeah, instead of epistemology and sunflower, I wanted to talk phrenology and daffodils.
Why would we want to talk about
It was a
considering
play on.
humans subhuman because of what their bones look like?
I don't know. Scott wanted to.
It's just a fascinating topic. I hope
It was.
it's great
Yeah,
to
it was-
learn stupid mythical sciences that people don't do anymore.
It was a sunflower inspired.
Yeah, it was inspired by the phrase epistemology and sunflowers.
What day is it?
Sunday?
Oh boy.
Sunday.
It's my off Sunday, but I think I'm going to micro. Somewhere between micro macro.
What?
I'm gonna start calling you Micro Mike.
Micro macro Mike. Yeah.
So you're gonna keep me in suspense on what a banana roll is?
No, you got to click on the fucking link.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you got to click on the link.
All right.
You're not going to pull a deconverted man on us, are you?
Yeah,
Oh,
don't open the deconverted man's links.
Would I do that to you guys? Would I pull a deconverted
Probably.
man on you?
Probably.
Hey,
yeah.
my laptop sucks so bad I can't get another window open to do the chat. So I say hi, Randy. I was gonna say hi in the chat, but I can't get another window open.
What's up?
Midnight
Randy?
Sparkle made it.
Yes, I
See?
said to try it on mobile.
We told you, Leo.
Oh.
It always takes a few tries, and then eventually it works.
Well, in that amount of time, that was like probably how many tries midnight? Let me guess, 19.
Leo, I already said I'm using mobile. I just said, you know what? Fuck it. I'll just go on
And,
mobile.
yeah, going on mobile was what, your 19th try?
Yes. God, I fucking
Wait a minute. Wait. Midnight's real. I always thought Midnight was like an app that just came up on the phone.
Yeah. Yep.
What's up, Midnight? Hello.
Hello, how are we tonight?
Tonight.
It's tonight here.
Tonight?
Yeah,
It's
Yeah,
dark.
it's like 6:30 over here. Right?
5:30. What do you mean tonight?
Well, how?
It's late
what?
afternoon.
So I just had the thought.
You live in California, Leo.
Do I live in California? Fuck no.
We
Well,
live
I
in
don't
Many
real
fucking
people.
know.
They all
How-
stink.
What time is it
They
over
all
there?
cost money. I don't.
So
In
mid-
California, 3:30.
No, where you are?
I just told you it's 5:30 here. It's late afternoon.
He's in the one true zone.
Yeah,
One true
it's
zone.
6:30.
No, the
so
one
midnight.
true zone is
The one
EST.
zone to bind them all.
It's
Midnight, you're not
6:30.
going to believe this, but like 30 seconds or 3 seconds before you came in, I thought, it's time to shoot her in the head.
Uh-oh.
Well, good thing I joined before you did that, Mike.
It's absolutely
once.
amazing. You always end up coming in just at the same time I get that thought, you know?
Well, I gotta know what your feelings are about Ken Ham's attorney being Speaker of the
Holy
House.
fuk.
Answers
hear
what-
in atheism.
Is it attorney
That
or
dude is
accountant?
Ken Ham's attorney. What?
He worked for decades. I think his bio said for a religious law firm that files all these cases for religious people. And one of the cases they handled was Ken Ham's tax situation when he was building the Ark.
So he's
Oh,
really
wow.
Ken Ham?
And he does an interview with Ken Ham. It's a full 30 minutes or something on answers in or on
Genesis.
It's like a
Answers
Mike
in-
Johnson. Mike Johnson, the guy that just got
Mike
$100
Johnson.
million.
And what I found interesting was he said this is what I found interesting. He said, "We don't charge our clients. We do this for free." But when they asked back, well, if you win the case, will you file for the state to pay all the legal fees? And he said yes. And I'm like, so if they win for their client, it doesn't cost anything, but they're still going to pass the charges back to the state for legal fees that they never charged Ken Ham. I was like, oh, okay.
Somebody in
'Cause
the
it's a
chat
non-
mentioned Richard Pryor, and you guys were talking about cocaine. maybe does anybody here remember what Richard Pryor said about that, about with cocaine?
No, I know he freebased and he lit himself.
Yeah, he was freebasing.
Well, yeah, he had jokes about that, about lighting himself on fire. But like he was talking about cocaine in his one album, and he'd say, talking to my old lady, and I said, honey, go up on the roof. I'm going to run outside, run around the house 3 times, and on the 3rd time, jump off on my face.
Yep.
Yeah, but who doesn't like their woman on their face?
Our Speaker of the House is a yabba dabba doer.
Yeah, he's a yak. Yeah,
we have all these shootings because we teach evolution in schools and all that nonsense.
That's what he said.
And he's a couple heartbeats away from being president.
Holy fuck.
Well, and literally a couple heartbeats with Biden and all.
Maybe.
Well, no, Kamala is next. Kamala, I should say. I always get that wrong.
You know, and I'm thinking about shooting something in the head.
So beware, folks. We have a yabba dabba doer as the Speaker of the House.
I'm really worried
I just
about
got
this.
here.
I'm really worried about this country. I mean, I'm really fucking.
Well, you should be. It's on a slow descent into fascism.
How the fuck did that happen? When Obama got elected, I thought we were we had just.
Because when Obama got elected, the Federalist Society and like the Koch brothers single-handedly started a neoconservative political movement known as the Tea Party movement that slowly moved this country further to the right, particularly with the money that the Federalist Society is getting from, conservative billionaire mega donors like the Koch brothers. They were capable of utilizing their massive amounts of financial influence to start putting judges, deeply conservative traditionalist judges, in positions all over the United States, as well as members of state houses and governorships and all this stuff, slowly driving the country further and further to the right. Because it's always the right-wing politics that the capitalists are going to side with. It will never be left-wing politics.
Well, and there was another seminal moment that happened in Obama's first term at the news thing they have every year where they get together for some banquet, all the news people get together. Obama went the fuck after Donald Trump and lit his ass on fire, man. Like telling jokes about him and shit. Oh, you don't remember that?
No, I don't. No.
Yeah, he couldn't have a black man making jokes about him. So.
Oh man!
And then that lit a fire under. I mean, Trump had tried, the presidency thing before that, but he really went all in on it from that point on.
Yeah, so I guess that goes to my idea that any great wave has to fall back, and I think we were at the peak with Obama, and I think we're from here it's going to be downhill.
What do you mean the peak?
I think we were at the peak of our fucking development in this country.
No, absolutely not. We're developing more right now.
Trump is feeding into the Christian nationalism too. He said, if elected, he wants to pass new immigration laws.
But guys, you got to remember
so that if you're not our religion. You can't get into this country.
Yep.
But you have to remember, this is a minority of people in this country.
There's a book by Jane Mayer called Dark Money, The Hidden History of the Billionaires Behind the Rise of the Radical Right.
Wow.
That kind of does a good expose of what Bill was talking about.
It's death throes.
The Murdochs, the Koch brothers.
They've seen the decline in the people in the pews, and they're panicking. So that's why they're going so crazy lately.
So it's time.
Well, that's the church. That's not the billionaires. Billionaires couldn't give a fuck less about the churches.
Yeah. Well, some of them billionaires are giving Ken Ham money.
Some are. Most aren't.
A lot of these places got some. I mean, I just can't see that they've got these huge mega churches rolling from the change they're getting from grandma. I'm just.
Well,
got to have a lot of friends with.
Joel Osteen gets 20 million from his congregation every year, if not more.
But who's writing the big checks? That's what I want to know.
Well, there's probably quite a few wealthy people in his congregation.
Because it's one more way just to hide money, I think.
I mean, most of them are probably going to be boomer white people.
Not really.
Guys, this thing's moving, but it's not saying nothing.
We have to go bye-bye.
Can't you hear me?
Hey, can I ask one last question?
Yeah.
because I got here late. What
Yeah.
did Sunflower do now?
Oh fuck, he's just so. He didn't know what epigenetics was, and he was blathering about it like he was some kind of a fucking pro. He didn't know what a prokaryote was, and a eukaryote. He didn't understand that. He was blabbering about that like he was a fucking pro. And
Sunflower doesn't know a lot of things.
and the rest of what he did was he was just being Sunflower, you know? And that's enough. That's enough to piss me off. So, anyway, so I thought I'd get on and point out how ignorant that fuck is. I mean, he is really ignorant.
But
And he's arrogant
can I-
too, which
Can I
makes
touch on a point that you brought up earlier when you showed us what Ember said about how what Sunflower is really doing is just trying to bring science down to the level of a religion and then argue that, well, they're both equally unsupported.
Yep.
Because I was watching a little bit of the bad apologetics that Nathan and James did very early this morning on psychophysical harmony. And I think it was James Fodor that also said something similar where he said that because he was talking about a tweet that Cameron put out where Cameron Bertuzzi, obviously capturing Christianity, where he said that the epistemic methodologies of natural theology and the natural sciences are identical. And what Fodor pointed out is that this is really nothing more than an attempt of Cameron and other, theists and apologists broadly do the same thing, to take put up the trappings of science around their theology without actually understanding what the real motivating principles of science are, or without actually using them. And it's all an attempt to make the theology look like to give it some extra points, so to speak, to make it look like it's something as rigorous as the actual empirical sciences, when all you've really got are just the trappings. You don't have any of the real substance, the real meat.
Yep. And there are a lot of people that aren't Christians that are around the world that are barking up that same fucking tree.
Oh yeah, I see it in the atheist community where they speak about science as if it's like this be all end all of human discovery, and they talk about science in a way that is just not
like scientism
accurate,
like scientism.
Scientistics? No.
So I should probably throw you out now, Leo. So I think we're going to shoot her in the head on that note. Thank you. Anyway, I got to go, guys. We got to go. We got to get out of here. But good point. Good point.
Can you guys hear me?
Not for long.
Huh? What did you say?
Yeah, did somebody say something?
Just on the stream.
A voice from beyond.
Midnight. Okay, we're fucking with you.
I know you more.
I heard the strange noise in the breeze,
but
it just sounded like pussy lips flapping.
We got to shoot her in the head, guys.
What the fuck?
We're leaving. I don't know what Leo just said. It's a good thing my ADHD kicked in and I fucking missed it. Okay. Goodbye.
My mouth. I have too much. I have cotton mouth. I can't do the noise.
We out of here. Bye, crew world.